India captain Virat Kohli has recalled his stunning 183-run knock against Pakistan during the 2012 Asia Cup. During a conversation with teammate Ravichandran Ashwin, Kohli termed that epic knock as a game-changer in his career. The match between India and Pakistan set many records at that time. While it was the highest successful run chase for India, Virat Kohli also made the record for the highest score by an Indian in ODIs against Pakistan. Kohli reminisced the iconic knock against a difficult Pakistan bowling attack and how that innings helped him develop as an astute run chaser.
Like I told you, it would be great if people know what went on in your head when you made that 183. I have updated them about it. Do you remember how you played at Hobart and followed this up right after that?
Yeah, I clearly remember. I think it was that tri-series in Australia where we played in Hobart, and I remember when we were warming up, the chat was not all that optimistic. I still remember because our chances were so bleak. And to be honest, even I wasn't in the most competitive zone because it had been a long tour and not a very successful one. So the motivation factor was very low in the group. The energy was low, and we were all saying, okay, one last game, we just need to play well and see how it goes. And bonus point was not even something that we were thinking about, especially looking at that pitch and how Sri Lanka started. You remember that? So yeah, it was strange that suddenly out of nowhere. And that's when you figure out some things are just meant to happen. Out of nowhere, we got that boost, started stringing partnerships. I think Paji and Virubhai had a brilliant partnership up front. They were very aggressive. Then Gauti Bhai and me, we had a great partnership. I think he got 50 or 60, if I'm not wrong. Then Raina came in and he changed the momentum of the game. And then that's when him and me discussed, we have to break it down into 2 T20 games. That was the first kind of revelation of chasing big totals for me. In a country that's not ours, there's conditions that were not ours. Although the pitch was really good, but still, the sense of not being in total control of the conditions that you play in, it was a revelation for me personally. It was something that I discovered about my game. I can have that belief to stay in those moments when things are tough and things are not looking too positive. And I remember that whole season. It was from that Test 100 in Adelaide to, continuously stringing in scores. And that was a season, a phase of 6 to 8 months where I really realized a lot about my own game and, came into my own. As far as my skills were concerned, I wasn't the most, I would say I was very competitive, but I wasn't very, sure or in control of what I wanted to do before. Because when you come in new, you're still figuring out, how to go about it. At the international stage, you want to be feared, you want to be respected. You just don't want to walk in and say, he's one of the youngsters, we'll just, knock him over. Or if this bowler, we can take him on. You want to be that guy who's feared. When you have the ball in hand, I'm sure you want the batsman to think, bloody hell, we got to be at our A game against Ash. We all play for that. That was the phase where I started to realize it. And then it led to that game that you were talking about. And that was quite special, yes.
Right. So this particular game against Pakistan, was it the same game where you and Rohit collided in the square leg fence?
Yeah, it was. It was very funny, and I remember MS wasn't too happy about it because, anyways, they were. I think they got 320. We were chasing 330, and they were big partnerships early on, and then we sort of messed up. It was supposed to be 1, and we gave away 3 runs. And I remember Irfan running after the ball slowly and, throwing it back to MS. And MS was like, how can these two guys just collide and give 3 away? That.
Do you know who the bowler was?
Who else?
Yeah,
I remember batsman was Umar Akmal, and I don't know the non-striker. Was it Yunus Khan?
Might have been Nazir Jamshed. I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, but I remember Umar Akmal played it like that. I was at deep mid-wicket and Rohit was deep square leg. And I came in, Rohit was going for the ball and my right side of my head hit his shoulder. And then Evan came in asking me how many, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. So
no concussion substitutes then.
No, not at all. That would have been strange. But I don't think that it was that serious. It was just, in the heat of the moment where you're going for the ball and then you don't, suddenly 5 minutes, you don't realize where you are.
Right. Okay. Now getting into that knock itself, it was, I mean, watching it now, it doesn't seem special because we've seen you do what you've done over the years. But then it was like, it made the world take notice and say, wow, who's this guy, right? And what was going through your head? Because it was not an easy attack to face. Umar Gul, Aizaz Chima, Wahab Riaz, Syed Ajmal. And Syed Ajmal was at his peak then, right? So can you talk us through about what's going in your head?
Well, you're right. The bowling attack was quite potent. I think at that time, they were a really, sort of challenging bowling attack to face because of the variation they had. And obviously, there was Afridi, there was Saeed Ajmal, there was Umar Gul, there was Azaz Chima, and there was Wahab. Wahab was there as well. Then Hafiz used to bowl in between. He got Gothi out in the first over, if I remember, and I walked in at 3. So it was high pressure game. Plus, Bangladesh wickets. It was sort of dry early on. Then the dew settles later. But I think for the first 20-25 overs, it was quite in their favor as far as conditions are concerned. But I clearly remember I was just happy batting next to Paji. That was his last ODI game, as it turned out to be. He scored 50. We got 100 partnership, so that was a memorable anecdote for me. It will always remain like that. But yeah, as I said, Ash, you don't really. The only intent is to make the team win, and in that process, you start realizing more about your own game. That yes, against any team in the world, any bowling attack, I can go the distance and I can make my team win. That realization, luckily for me, happened while playing those games, and not just thinking about them outside and just hoping that they would happen. They naturally just happened because I was constantly boosting myself up to want situations like that. And I think that game turned out to be a game changer for me. As you rightly said, it was a Sunday, I remember. India, Pakistan, the whole country is watching, and suddenly everyone takes notice of what's going on. So yeah, I fondly remember that game. The chase was tough. Rohit played a brilliant innings. I think he got 60 odd. And in the end, MS and Raina finished. And we finished, I think, 3 overs to spare or something like that, chasing 330, which was quite memorable for me. But yeah, I constantly remember that game fondly. And you spoke about Saeed Ajmal, and he was at his peak. And I clearly remember we played a T20 World Cup in Sri Lanka, if you remember, before that.
Correct. Yeah.
And there was a warm-up game where I decided that I got 75 against them. And then in the main game, I got 60 or 70 again, not out. And we won that game. And I remember in the warm-up game when I was playing him, I told myself, I'm going to start playing him like a leg spinner. Because his dusra was quite difficult to face. And his off spinner was not that lethal. So I said I'm going to try and hit him over covers consistently. And it just paid off. And as soon as I negated his dusra, then the potency of his threat became lesser and lesser. And even in that game, if you remember, I scored most of my runs against him through the offside. And I just kept doing that, kept wanting to hit against the turn as well, whatever turn he was getting through the pitch. But my only aim was I'm going to make him unsettled with his dusra. He should fear not bowling the dusra to me. Then I'm on top of my game.
Right, because I don't have to ask that question. I would have asked, being the off spinner, I wanted to ask, why did you score all the runs through the offside? Because he had the sweeper up, you kept cutting him, then you hit one, and the ball went off the edge and went over third man. I remember it very clearly. So that was like the pace at which he was bowling, right? And you answered it perfectly anyway. But